All right, man. We got our partner that breaks down NFL quarterbacks for a living joining the chat right now. He's over going to be joining me on YouTube. You'll be able to hear him on TikTok. My man CJ. CJ, what is going on, brother?
And how you doing, Big B?
I am doing all right. I got you in at the tail end of fraud of the week, man. Um, you tell me, am I off base at all at what we saw on Sunday night?
So the last time we saw the Cowboys on Sunday night, they were abusing the New York Football Giants to the tune of
Yes.
40-0.
Yes.
7 sacks. Everyone had something to say. And you know what happened this time? You know why they're the biggest frauds of the entire NFL season? People were calling Brock Purdy Joe Montana on the broadcast. That's when you know that you didn't do the job you came there to do. There is nothing worse than having a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of anything, mentioned with Mr. Irrelevant. And that's no shade to Brock Purdy. That's just how poor Dallas was on that night.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was pathetic. Look, and a lot of people are going to beat up Dak and blame Dak for this loss. Now, it's been my understanding. First of all, Dak played bad, but they were beat before Dak started throwing all those picks. Dallas was beat. Now, he didn't help them because they couldn't score. They couldn't move the ball at all. I blame some play calling. Dak panicked, but the defense couldn't do anything with the 49ers. They were going through them like a hot knife through butter. But having said that, break down Dak's play for us, CJ.
So Dak is in a position where Dak is not exceptional. And what I mean by that is there's some guys, whether it's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, et cetera, that can overcome bad play calling, overcome guys dropping passes, overcome guys not getting open. Dak can't do that. So Dak didn't play well, but you could tell he was pressing in the second half because, to be candid, let's go ahead and get it out there. His defensive line is a bunch of front runners. They only
Yes.
play well when they're ahead because they just want to pin their ears back and rush the passer. They don't want to get dirty.
Nope.
So Dak gets blamed, and he didn't play well, but Dak was not their issue on Sunday night. It was that defensive line that got manhandled consistently.
Consistently. And the one thing about it, last year the Cowboys couldn't stop the run. They didn't address that. They drafted a guy from Michigan and they overreached for basically a mid-round guy, and they drafted him in the first round.
Yep.
He has no business going in the first round. I mean, he's in the rotation, but he's not doing anything. He didn't do a ton at Michigan either. There were several times. You want put that TCU game on from last year. He was getting manhandled inside. So the Cowboys got what they deserved. Dak gets all the blame. Look, you get all the blame when you're the Dallas quarterback, and you get all the credit. And Dak deserves it because he didn't help them, but he didn't play well. But he wasn't the key to them losing. He was not the key. Like I said, I think that game was over in the first quarter, man. On the flip side, Brock Purdy, how good is it now time that everybody says, CJ, Brock Purdy is good? Is it time that we just cut the cord and just say he's good?
I'm going to answer this as succinctly as possible. Brock Purdy has been exceptional at doing exactly what he's been asked to do, and even a little more. Brock Purdy is perfect for that offense. Now, this is going to sound like shade to Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is not going to elevate past the guys who can elevate. He's not going to elevate in that situation where San Francisco has always needed someone. The reason they reached for Trey Lance, which is when you play Patrick Mahomes in a big game,
Right.
Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. He's not that guy. And that's not to be expected. You don't go in the seventh round because you had exceptional measurables or did something in college that was exceptional. What he's done is maximized what's been asked of him, and kudos to him. Even if he gets MVP votes, he deserves them. But Brock Purdy is not on the level of where they're trying to put him. When I heard Joe Montana get mentioned with Brock Purdy, I was a little upset, and that's not his fault.
That's right. It's not his fault. He's doing what they're asking him to do. He's doing it exceptionally well. But let's pump the brake. First of all, me personally, I think Joe Montana is the greatest quarterback ever. I have him above Tom Brady. I think Joe Montana is the best ever. So nobody belongs being mentioned with him. But especially Brock Purdy after, 10 starts? Come on, man. Come on, man. You got to do better than that. And again, I like what he's doing. I think he's doing a great job. but let's pump the brakes a little bit. Pump the brakes. Couple of things that I saw this week. Somebody that you already see the narrative starting to pop up again is, here's a question here though for you, CJ. Is Burrow back or just a beneficiary of a favorable matchup against Arizona?
I think two things can be true. I think that was a good get right game for him. He went over the top of a secondary that had been playing. They shelled over, but never actually got depth. So he took advantage of that. But honestly, he's not back 100% yet. You can tell because Joe Burrow still didn't look comfortable. What he looked was functional. He could actually move in the pocket. He took off for one run and got some yards, but he's not back. And I'm hoping that they're doing this whole progression with him so that he doesn't injure that calf again, because it can get worse. But he's not back to 100% yet.
Gotcha. That's what it kind of looked like for me. Arizona's back end is bad anyway. I mean, they're bad. So yeah, that was a great question, MNG Sinister. I appreciate that, man. But yeah, I think what they were doing, plus they didn't even have T. Higgins out there either. So they were forcing the ball to Jamar Chase, and he was open. Like, I mean, they allowed him to get that open. So, but again, Arizona's roster is bad, especially on the defensive side. They're bad.
They've outkicked their coverage. They've outplayed what they have offered. Again, their starting quarterback arrived 9 days before the first game. They've done a great job of what they have on that roster.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're starting to see the narrative. The national shows are already starting to talk about it. Lamar Jackson. As a guy that's a Steelers fan, and watched every snap, for the first 2.5 quarters, Lamar Jackson was on his A game. Lamar Jackson was doing his thing. He can't help that guys are dropping touchdown passes. I will admit, the last quarter, he played bad. He played bad. You can't. There was a sack that he took, should have stepped up, a forced fumble. That pick in the end zone was horrendous. Now, you don't know if it was supposed to be I blame the formation more than anything for that pick. Who throws back or fades in the end zone out of the shotgun? That's not what you do. There wasn't enough yards. There wasn't enough. I mean, they were on the 4-yard line? You can't throw a fade from the shotgun like that. The receiver doesn't have enough room. So, but that's just me talking. But tell me what you thought of Lamar Jackson, because going into the game, outside of the Colts game, and even then he had some drops. He's had the most in the league. He's played good. He's played very good. Tell me what you thought about Lamar Jackson Sunday.
So what I saw, at least when I was watching the game, was the same thing I've seen with Lamar. And it's going to sound like an excuse, but it's actually what I see as the truth. Lamar starts to panic not because he's a panicker, but because things are so convoluted early on that in the fourth quarter, he's like, okay, I guess I have to be Superman. And he starts making decisions that don't really vibe with what's going on. Yeah. I've seen nothing innovative whatsoever from this offense. Monken coming in. It looks, you know what it looks like? It looks like he took Greg Roman's playbook and decided to just, instead of making everything be condensed, move guys out a little further. But it's the same exact playbook. There's nothing that's changed. And I don't know if that's a Harbaugh wants to be more of a pound and thump, run the ball guy, or if it's Lamar saying he wants a certain type of offense. But there's no easy answers, and there's drops. That's a terrible combination.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, yeah, because like I said, people, I mean, again, I'm a diehard fan of the first place Pittsburgh Steelers, I might add, CJ. The first place Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll throw that out there. The thing about it is, if they catch 2 of those 3 touchdown passes, and I include the one to Butterfingers himself, Nelson Aguilar, because that was going to be a touchdown. I mean, that was going to be a touchdown. Yeah. If that happens, they blow the Steelers out. The Steelers aren't scoring. They're not making that game close.
No.
I mean, now it happened. It's just like, and then people won't watch the game and they'll just look at Lamar's stats and look at a couple key plays and they'll say he played terrible. I'm like, yeah, no, he didn't. He didn't play terrible at all. 8 drops. You can even say the other one to Zay Flowers, where he needed to readjust to a ball that again could have been a touchdown, and he just fell down. I don't know that I've ever seen that from an NFL wide receiver.
Well, I haven't seen it from one as good as him. I'll put it like that. And he is going to be really good. But listen, there's 2 guys that they don't play the same, but they have the same exact issues, even if they don't look the same. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, they're asked to be Superman, and they both just start trying to do stuff. in the fourth quarter. Lamar needs certain types of help. Josh needs certain types of help. But both run into that in the fourth quarter. They just try to do way too much. And then people say, well, they panicked, this or that. You know what? Neither's Patrick Mahomes. That's their issue.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, exactly. And you saw Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, and I mean, he did it again. Now, Minnesota's defense is not very good, but Kelsey couldn't run. Their receivers are below average at best. And they just keep doing his thing. He just keeps doing his thing. It's crazy. A lot of people said they got bailed out. I'm like, I don't know if they got bailed out, whatever. But he was still moving the ball. They were up 14 points, and Mahomes, to me, is so far ahead of the best quarterbacks, it's not even funny. That's me talking. You break them down for a living. You tell us, my man.
Here's why, to me, he's so far ahead. It feels like he's just like, okay, easy mode, easy mode. He has all the extra stuff that those guys I just mentioned have, except what we tried to be sold on at one point last year about someone said that Joe Burrow was the better quarterback or the best quarterback in the league because he's ahead of it thinking and all this. Things are so slow for Patrick Mahomes that I've literally only seen this dude panic 1 out of every 7 times he should.
Yeah.
And that's to keep not having your safety blanket, i.e. Travis Kelce, which is not the same as having a number 1 wide receiver. Those two things are completely different. Yes. He's got his binky, but he doesn't have a dude who can just say, I'm taking this game over. He doesn't have an A.J. Brown, a Stephon Diggs, or Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. If he had that, which when he did, what did they do? They put up big numbers.
Correct.
Didn't have him, put up big numbers. The guy's built different.
He's built different. He's just built different. And it's not all Andy Reid. I'm going to give Andy Reid a lot of credit because he devises plays. He does. But you got to have the talent. You got to have the talent because Andy Reid was still the same guy with Alex Smith. He was still the same guy with Donovan McNabb. Both good quarterbacks. I mean, both of those guys are good quarterbacks. They weren't doing this. They weren't doing this kind of stuff.
So there's 2 things that really good coaches do, and they do it differently. Obviously, everyone has their own style. 1, they inspire people to actually try to be the best them, right? Go and give that extra effort. But 2, they allow them to be the best version of themselves. Andy Reid devises these plays. He even says it. Some of my players give me these plays. Like I didn't come up with all of them. I just allowed them to run it at practice. Then we can actually execute it in a game. He's not coming up with all this. He's not the mad scientist. What he is an exceptional head coach because he lets those guys be the best version of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before I get you out of here, I know you got to run. Again, tell me, a lot of people are asking about how good is Tua? Is it the guys around him or is it him? Is it Mike McDaniels? How good is Tua?
So Tua falls in a category of quote-unquote game manager. Some of the greatest quarterbacks of all time have been game managers. It's maximizing what they do. Tua makes really good decisions very quickly, and he's anticipates like a champ. So how good is he? He's as good as the pieces they put around him, which are exceptional. Not every quarterback in the NFL could do what Tua does with those pieces. They couldn't do Drew Brees does with those pieces. What he's not a guy who's going to go above and beyond the X's and O's, but if you give him a game plan and it works, he will run it to an exceptional level. And that's what he's been doing, getting the ball out of his hands in stride to those guys. That's what he is, a high-end game manager. And you can actually win a Super Bowl with a high-end game manager as long as he doesn't drop the ball when pressure gets on him. And I don't think Tua will.
Got it. Yeah, I like Tua, man. I like what they're doing. I like the position that they're putting him in. And he's doing an exceptional job. Anybody this weekend that you saw that played well? Because we know the ones that played bad. I mean, we can go on and on about that. But anybody that you saw that played well, other than, the obvious mentions, I know Jalen Hurts was out there doing his thing. How good is Jalen Hurts? I guess that's a better question. How good is Jalen Hurts right now?
Jalen Hurts is really good right now. And you know why Jalen Hurts is really good right now? People forget. He lost all of the stuff. He lost his OC. He's constantly losing people. Now, not the pieces around him, but he's constantly losing people. And he's still able to adjust. The Eagles haven't looked good for a whole game. And they're still 5-0. And you know what? Jalen Hurts, when they've asked him to make plays late in the game, which is what you need from your quarterback. You don't need gaudy numbers. What you need is a guy to show up when you need him. He's answered the bell every time this year. And that shows that he's grown into a guy who can consistently be depended on.
Got it. I totally understand. I appreciate you, man. Tell everybody where they can find you again.
Sure. So my personal brand, Chopping It Up with CJ, it's my podcast. I do 4 different types of episodes on that, 4 a week, and I drop that. I'm also on stuff like here. And if you're in the New York tri-state area, I am on Pix 11, the CW affiliate up there doing fantasy football on NY Blitz.
Got it, man. I appreciate you making the time. We'll see you again next week. We'll bring it on. We may even break down some college quarterbacks because a lot of people that are on the Big B Daily Show, they ask about college quarterbacks, man. And I'll be interested to pick your brain next week about it because there's a couple that people talk about, and I'm like, yeah, I know he's good in college, but I don't know. So I appreciate you, my man. Thank you.
Thank you. And just as a little teaser, there's a guy who's always mentioned with Caleb Williams. He's barely in my top 5, if at all.
Okay. I like it, man. Well, we will catch you next week. Thank you, CJ.
All right. Thanks, Big B.
Yep. All right, man. I appreciate you guys. That is my man, CJ. He is always available to talk to us. He breaks down quarterbacks for a living. He literally breaks down quarterbacks for a living. So thank you guys for participating in any of that. So